My guest is a 5-time Emmy-nominated executive producer, writer, actress, comedian, and television host known for the critically acclaimed HBO sketch comedy series, A Black Lady Sketch Show. Her latest project is the star-studded holiday film, Candy Cane Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Stephen A. Smith Show, the very, very talented Miss Robin Thede. How are you, Robin? How's everything going?
Everything is great, and I'm a 6-time Emmy nominee.
Excuse me, you need to get on your peeps because they didn't tell me that. I'm sorry, 6-time Emmy nominated.
It's new. It's for these new delayed Emmys that are happening in January, so it's fresh.
How are you feeling right now? I mean, when you just brought up 6-time Emmy nominations. Talk about that for a second in terms of how you're looking at yourself and where you are at right now at this particular moment in time in your career.
Oh, wow. You know what? It's really amazing. I've been so lucky. A Black Lady Sketch Show, 4 seasons. The whole show has 16 Emmy nominations, 3 wins. We're up for 3 more in January. It's just been a huge blessing. Not that awards are everything, but as Black people, we know that, we don't always get recognized in these big award shows. So for me, that's a mark that we've appealed to a worldwide audience and people can watch us across the globe. And so to be able to bring Black women to the forefront in that way for so many seasons has just been the joy of my life.
I'm going to get back to that because that's a subject I definitely wanted to tackle with you. So I'm very, very glad that you're here to talk about that. But let me transition for a moment to Candy Cane Lane. Tell us about this, what this project is all about. Obviously, December 1st is when it's coming out. Everybody's going to be able to see it. Talk to me about that for a second.
I mean, listen, Eddie Murphy, okay?
Yes.
That's all you need to know.
The man.
Like, Eddie Murphy doing his first legit comedy for Christmas. Tracy Ellis Ross, Nick Offerman, Chris Redd, Jillian Bell, the cast, DC Young Fly, Daniel Bernard from Ghost, like all these amazing, amazing comedians that director Reggie Hudlin brought together to create this really, really sweet but action-filled and exciting Christmas movie that I think families are going to enjoy. But even if you don't have kids, like it's such a fun ride. And I think the energy between Reggie and Eddie, they're reunited for the first time since they did Boomerang together.
That's right.
It's so palpable on screen. So we got to have a really great time. I get to be animated in the movie with Chris Redd and Nick Offerman, and we play characters who get trapped as Christmas ornaments by this evil elf played by Jillian Bell. And it's just really, really fun. It feels fresh. It feels like a new holiday classic.
I'm interested in knowing, because anytime you talk about comedy, you're talking about laughter, you're talking about putting smiles on people's faces and things of that nature. We know the times that we're living in, and we see how divisive and so crazy things have gotten in our society as a whole. How important is comedy in today's day and age compared to what the level of importance it may have once had?
You know what? I think comedy's always been important. You go back to Moms Mabley and being disruptive and showing what Black women can do. You go through, Richard Pryor, Flip Wilson, Whoopi Goldberg, and then up through In Living Color, Kim Wayans, and all these incredible Black women who have really signposted our progression in the business. And I think, for me, Black women in particular have just shown me how much we can take any sort of pain and make it funny, or just silly things that make them funny, right? Without diminishing ourselves. And I think that's what the real power is for people today who are building on the shoulders of all those great comedians. But I think comedy in general, right? Whether it's Black women, Black men, white people, whatever. Yep. I think comedy in general is so critical as long as we know how to laugh at ourselves, I think there's so much just people being mean, right? Not only in person, but online and all of that. Like the levity of comedy, I think is always really fun. And even if it's not the type of comedy, you're down with, there's always something for everybody. So it's really important to be able to laugh at ourselves and let loose. And everything that I make, I really just try to make things that people can just switch their brain off for a half hour, and not your brain, but your stress. You can switch your stress off. You switch your brain off if you want to. Right.
That's right. Do whatever it takes, right? I tell you this, the thing that bothers me is that I'm like, usually with comedy in the past, nothing was off limits. You could laugh at anything and anybody. It was indiscriminate. It wasn't discriminatory against anybody. It didn't pigeonhole anybody, anything like that. No one was safe from comedians, which I thought was a very, very good thing, a very great thing, to show you that no matter who you are, you can be laughed at, you can be laughed with, et cetera, et cetera. Now in this day and age, the comedians that I know on a personal level and beyond, they talk about how times have changed, and it's such a damn shame because you have to be scared of the content that you actually put out there to make sure it's something that's going to be stomached and received by the viewing public. Do you find that to be more challenging now than it was years ago?
I don't, because I don't care.
That's what I'm talking about. I love that answer. Keep going.
For me, well, first of all, I try to make comedy that doesn't punch down, but that doesn't mean that we don't like do anything that's not edgy. I mean, I had a show on HBO for 4 years. Like, we definitely pushed the boundaries, but nobody really came for us like we were hurting anyone. I think as long as your intentions, you know what? Here's the thing. If your joke is good enough, you can say anything.
Really?
And I know that the best comedians know this, you know, and I think that I'm not scared because I believe in, you know, being able to write a great joke. Mm-hmm. And if somebody's offended at the end of the day, you know, that's going to happen regardless, even if you don't do a controversial sort of subject or joke. So I think it's okay. I think by and large, people still really enjoy comedy and people still really need it. And, you know, there's some things that just aren't funny anymore to audiences. That's true.
Right.
But I think that there are things that are funny anew, you know, that wouldn't have been funny 20 years ago. And comedy goes in these waves. There were people saying this decades ago as well, that, you know, I mean, George Carlin used to say it, that people didn't want to hear what he had to say. And he's one of the greatest comedians of all time. So I think it all comes in waves. I don't really listen to that so much. I feel like if your joke is good, you can do anything.
How do you
and I just try not to punch down and be mean, because that's just not my comedy.
I got you.
Yeah.
How do you maintain your comedic genius? Because when I think about it, it's like, you know, some people, like, listen, they're walking the streets, they're paying attention to the things that people are saying, the things that people are complaining about, et cetera, et cetera. And some people just have stuff that's circulating in their head and they just put it out there and folks find a way to be receptive to it. How do you believe, or what do you believe the ingredients to your success is when it comes to being an actual comedic writer?
I think for me as a comedian and as a writer, I just try to make things funny that are relatable to everybody. I try to find the things that's like, oh my God, yes, that did happen to me. I can't believe she said it in that way, or that they did that sketch about that thing. So I think as long as you can make it relatable, and people love to see themselves in comedy, right? Mm-hmm. If you make it too far out there, too weird, you're only going to have a small audience. But I think over the years, what I've tried to do is just make people feel seen with the comedy, and make them feel smart, make them feel like, oh yeah, okay, I've been in that situation, I know that person. But at the end of the day, if it makes me laugh, I'm gonna put it on the show and see how it goes. And I think the same with Kit and Lane, we got to improvise so much with Eddie and Tracy and Nick and Chris and all the actors. Like, that was what was so dope, is like, we took this real family situation and these, you know, kind of very grounded characters, but doing really silly things, right? And just make the jokes relatable.
You know, I want to transition to you on a personal level from this standpoint. If I remember correctly, according to my research, your mama is an Iowa State representative. Is that true? Is that true?
Yeah, she retired last year after 14 years,
okay,
7 terms in the state house in Iowa. Yeah, first Black woman from her district. She was incredible. Passed historic legislation about marriage equality, a bunch of stuff. She was amazing. And
your dad is a retired teacher. Is that correct?
Yeah. Teacher, principal, all the above. He worked on my mom's campaign, and he was they're both still very politically active. And I think,
the reason I'm asking is because I'm saying, okay, yes, because first of all, if you're in politics, once you're politically active, you're always politically active. You never stop. That's what I've learned. You never stop. But I will say this to you. So the Iowa State representative, that was your mama. The retired teacher, that's your daddy. And the comedian in you, how did that happen? Usually when you have parents in those positions, they're like, girl, we don't want to hear anything about jokes. This is serious. We need you to do this. That's what parents usually would do. Did that happen to you?
Absolutely. My parents were like, please go get a real degree. Like, don't try to just do comedy and, you know, end up doing something, you know, horrible for money. So yes, I went to Northwestern. I got a degree in broadcast journalism, and then I ended up using that on fake late night comedy shows. So it worked out.
And not only that, you were also a radio personality. You were an entertainment correspondent, if I remember correctly. These are all. That's right. I'm trying to do my research, girl. I'm trying to do my research. Okay. But so
I've done it all, honey. I've done it all.
And I'm so what I'm asking is that considering the opportunities that were clearly out there for you, why didn't you stick with one of those things? I mean, one could argue you're pretty much doing it all right now, but why that transition?
Funny, I was always doing comedy. I've been doing comedy since I was 13, and I went through Second City in Chicago. The only reason why I was even on radio or doing entertainment correspondent stuff was because there was a writer's strike in 2007, 2008. Wow. And so I fell back on that degree and got a real job.
There we go.
But no, I was always doing comedy. I was just trying to make my way through that strike. And, we've been through another one recently, and I thank God didn't have to get a second job, but yeah, so no, that degree helped me when I needed it most.
2015, first African-American woman to be a head writer for a late night talk show with Larry Wilmore. That obviously is historic in its own light. When you think about that and being recognized for that, what does that make you feel like?
I have a lot of firsts, and I think that was my first big one. But first Black woman to do a sketch comedy show, first Black woman to be nominated and win, have our first Black woman director win an Emmy for comedy variety. Like all these firsts have kind of followed my career, and I always say it's bittersweet for me. It's a badge of honor, I guess, in some ways for me, but it's a badge of shame for the industry. Like it shouldn't have taken that long for these things. I was only the fourth Black woman to ever have a late night talk show. Like that's just wild to me, coming to think of all the, other sorts of people that have done this. So I think for me, it's all about leaving a legacy where people have opportunities because I did the things I did. And that's what makes me happy. And that's what I love about doing the projects that I've been so lucky to do, is that it's not just about me. We get to bring all these amazing people with us, be it a Black Lady Sketch Show, Candy Cane Lane, or anything else I'm working on.
I'm listening to you right now, and I remember I had to sub for Jimmy Kimmel one night. Myself, Stephen A., crazy as I can be. I actually had to sub for Jimmy Kimmel one night. I can't tell you, I was sweating bullets. I had to use the bathroom about 5 times before I went out on stage. I was nervous as hell. I ain't gonna lie to you, Robin. I was nervous as hell. But I'm listening to you, and I'm saying to myself, excuse me, we've seen late night. You see Gobert and Kimmel and Fallon and all of these guys and Seth Meyers and all of these folks. We once had Arsenio Hall. We saw what Larry Wilmore could do. Obviously, Trevor Noah did a sensational job on Comedy Central. What about a Black woman doing late night television, Robin? Have you ever thought about that?
I had a late night show called The Rundown with Robin Thede on BET. It was critically acclaimed. We did well. It was right before I did Black Lady Sketch Show. And then you've got Amber Ruffin, you had D-Way. Like there's more coming. And I think that we got to keep that door open for sure. We definitely need that voice in late night. And I hope that there are many, many more behind us, because Whoopi, Monique, Wanda, they laid a path for us. And we definitely have to keep that open, because it's just, I feel like when you have the same opinion in late night, the same types of opinions, it just gets boring, right? I want to see what other people have to say. I love watching you, and I think, you're doing such a vital service in everything that you do. And it's critical. It's critical because there's no voice like yours. There's no voice like mine. There's no voice like so many incredible women out there. So, yeah, I think that definitely needs to continue.
And this is the thing. I certainly wasn't implying that you haven't done it. I was talking about now, considering what has transpired, what's going on right now. And I think now more than ever before, those diverse voices, particularly in late night, I'm not viewing it as just late night, Robin. I'm viewing it as it opening the floodgates to create an abundance of other opportunities throughout the day and throughout the industry for a plethora of African Americans in this industry. I don't think anything could pull it off better than late night in my estimation. To that you say what?
Absolutely, I agree with you. It's such a big platform, right? It's a huge platform. And to be able to be yourself in that space as a Black woman is really dope. Like to be able to come out there and not be over-noted or to have to fill some sort of role or quota or whatever, but to just show up as who you authentically are and say, yeah, like this happened in the news and this is my take on it. You're always going to get a fresher perspective that way. And when you mentioned Arsenio, and that just like melts my heart. He's just my favorite. And
absolutely.
Just think about what he did for Black people in general,
yes,
in comedy, but in late night was just unbelievable. It really was.
And not only that, and listen, I've often said this, I don't think anybody should be more grateful to Arsenio Hall than the hip hop community, because the hip hop community wasn't on late night until he brought hip hop to mainstream. I mean, he did so much for so many of us, but especially for the hip hop industry. He doesn't get nearly as much credit as he so richly deserves, which is, and you know, one of his best friends in the world is the one and only Eddie Murphy, who you're working on Candy Cane Lane with now. And I'll transition it to Eddie by saying this. Probably the greatest comedian of all time. We think about the Richard Pryors of the world. We think about Martin Lawrence, because I'm a huge Martin Lawrence fan. And the list goes on and on about a plethora of Black folks, male and female, who've done phenomenal work. But everybody finds themselves bowing down to the great Eddie Murphy. What is it like working on this project with him? I know you spoke about that earlier, but to really highlight and zero in on him and his level of greatness, what is it that makes him so special?
I've been watching this man his whole career, ever since I was way too little to see his stuff. And blown away. You know he's going to be funny. And he's hilarious in this movie. And there are just moments when you see that Eddie grin, you hear that laugh, you see just the quickness of his improv. And we got to improvise a lot together. So much of what we did, I think I originally had like 6 lines in the script, and now I'm all the way through the movie, because we ended up improvising so much. He wanted us there live on set, even though we're playing these little ornaments. To work with him, he's so giving. And the thing that I think blew me away was just his kindness. He's so kind and so giving. And I'm like, if I'm Eddie Murphy, I wouldn't talk to nobody. I'd be like, but he was the most giving, kind, and when we would improvise with him, he would laugh. We would break him, break him, meaning make him laugh and, bust up his character or whatever. And I that will always sit with me as a badge of pride. To be that giving. There are so many comedians who aren't as big as Eddie Murphy who just won't laugh when you're performing with them because they don't want to give anyone else a laugh, right? But this man is not like that at all. He's so giving. And I've known Tracy forever.
Yep. She's phenomenal.
Always been that same way.
Robin, can I confess something to you? Confess something to you? I interviewed Anthony Anderson. That's one of my boys. That's my brother right there, right? And I'm interviewing him before Blackish comes out. And I'm saying privately to him, I have no doubt it's going to be a fantastic show. I have my concerns because of the title. The fact that it's called Blackish, are they going to give you the shine you deserve? Are you going to be marginalized? Are they going to say, no, this is not for us? Kenya Burris and the crew, I know what y'all can do, but are they going to give it to y'all? And I got to tell you, as a huge Martin Lawrence fan, huge fan. I loved him and Tisha Campbell and Tashina Arnold and them. They were phenomenal. I still watch episodes to this very day. Same. I said to myself, I can't imagine anybody being as good as Martin and Gina. And then I saw Anthony Anderson with Tracee Ellis Ross, and I said, they done pulled this off. They pulled this off. I mean, am I wrong in feeling that way? How do you feel about that?
I think they're this generation's Martin and Gina for sure. And they in their own way, right? In their own way. But the thing about Tracy is
she's phenomenal.
Tracy's been doing this.
That's right.
She's been doing this for decades.
Girlfriends. That's right. Yeah, your boy used to watch it, Robin. I used to watch it.
I mean, we all did, but the mainstream was still like, oh, who's this? Yeah. Or, oh, she's Diana Ross's daughter. It's like, no. Give this real comedian our props.
That's right.
And Anthony will tell you, if she couldn't hold her own, that show wouldn't be what it was.
That's right.
And she was such the heart and soul of that show, and is of this movie as well. I mean, Eddie talks about their chemistry together and how, it's just, there are these beautiful moments. I'm always so annoyed in movies when the wife is just like a nag or something.
Right.
Yeah, and the writer Kelly Younger is amazing, but Tracy creates this wife of Eddie's who's not only a comedic peer, but she's also warm and loving, and it's such a beautiful Black family on screen. And she really anchors the warmth of the movie, but also so much of the comedy. And I'm just so impressed with her and And I think, you know, that's a compliment to Eddie too, in the environment he creates on set for everybody to be their best.
Candy Cane Lane, in the end of the day, what are you hoping this is going to accomplish? For you
I want
personally
this,
and for all your
yeah.
contemporaries?
Well, I want this to be a new holiday classic. I want this to be a movie that everybody, you know, how I watch, you know, Trading Places and Die Hard and all,
Yes, right.
and
That's
all
right.
that at Christmas. I want people to watch this with their families that way, or how we watch Home Alone. Like for me, this is our Black Home Alone. Like we get to like, you know, have and the kids in the movie are so good.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited. I hope people enjoy it with their families. And what it can do for me, I mean, look, it's already allowed me to spend a few months with some of my greatest comedy heroes,
Right.
and I'm already rich, so I'm good. But
That's right. Say it. I ain't mad at you. I mean, say it if it's true. Say it if it's true. Sure. Why not?
But I hope that you'll see me in more movies soon. And now that we've closed one chapter of my on-camera stuff, I'm looking forward to the next. And I'm developing a new show called Disengagement with HBO. So there's a lot more coming down the line.
Well, listen, consider this a home for you. Anytime you want to talk, I'm here for you. I really, really appreciate your time. You're absolutely fabulous. I'm looking forward to Candy Cane Lane on Amazon Prime, debuting December 1st. I can't wait. And I'm just so proud of you and what you're doing. Keep up the great work and all the best to you, okay? You take care of yourself.
Thank you. It's so good to talk to you.
All right, take care. The one and only Robin Thede. Love it. Right here on Stephen A. Smith Show.